name of the game. From the claws of monsters or the heat from a ball of flame. Our strength in numbers is a roll of the dice. Played 1,000 hours and I think that I died just once. Or maybe twice. I live in dungeons. Dungeons. Always here. I live in dungeons. Dungeons. Like a kid.
Okay, here we go. Now I got you. Now I got you. Now I got me. Make sure I hear audio.
Hear me?
What?
Yes.
Just making sure I can. The channel's hearing you one more time. You see
Yes,
something?
and you hear me.
I am not seeing the audio. Just a moment.
Oh, there we are.
Now, give me a shot one more time, Victor. We'll get
There's
this-
there's a delay.
Okay,
Say
you're hearing a delay.
again?
I said you're hearing an audio delay.
On Twitch, I could see a big delay on the screen.
Well, yes, that's the feed differential. As long as your audio is coming out through Twitch, we're good.
Yeah, I think that's. Let me double check. Do I have audio on Twitch settings? No, I don't actually. Yep, I got it.
Okay. As long as you can hear yourself on the final destination, we're good to go. Whee! What fun! Welcome to Nycos, everybody. Happy Friends Day, by the way, Victor.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Friends Day. I don't know. I think I might have told you that I changed the days of the week a long time ago when I stopped the 9 to 5, so to speak, and started doing the writing. I redefined the days of the week for my own purposes. So I switched Monday to Fun Day. Tuesday was Newsday. Wednesday is
yes.
Friends Day, and so on. And so today is Happy Friends Day because it's Wednesday morning. And I have with us a very great friend of Nycos and friend of our channel, Vyktor here. And so, welcome, sir.
Howdy.
You got so much nicer background than I do. Mine's board game boxes, and that's it. And yours is what? Board game boxes.
I'm trying to get him to shrink down.
Yeah.
We don't play as much anymore. We've switched our interests.
Indeed.
I didn't think it would happen.
You didn't think it would ever happen, right? Yeah. Isn't that the way that goes? Well, kids gravitate to cards because they're easier to carry around, you know?
I'm organizing them as we speak. They're easier to store.
Well, yes
Take up
and
a lot
no.
less space on that.
They take up less space, but they do have to be organized. And if they're not, they get lost in the space. So
My daughter loves to organize, so that works out.
alrighty, so with this being Friends Day and having the opportunity to have Vyktor on the show with us today, I wanted to kind of have a conversation about the possibility of eventually having a Nycos live stream game. If you thought that was a good idea, whether we should avoid that. One of my balancing beam, so to speak, is that the trends of what the world is doing aren't necessarily a good basis for what you should do, but some things that we think are going to be fads end up being trends and actually do change the world. So how do you feel about running a live stream if I was able to get 4 to 6 quality players on a regular basis that way?
Well, I think I've always told you I think this game works best online. Not that on person is great too, but not a lot of people can make it to your location.
That's
to
true.
where we play.
Right.
So I think it works best online since it's theater of the mind.
Mhm.
There's not much of the we start talked about it too much. The finickiness with a lot of these other RPGs.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Well,
think he works best here.
well, it works best for the players. I would agree because we're in the theater that's in your head, and so you don't have to have a lot of video graphics. You don't have to have high tech junk to make the system work. But on the other hand, really, if you're dealing with a viewing audience, what's I wrestle with all the time somebody looking at the screen and just looking at my dumb face. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I obviously in roleplay you have to have some way of presenting your action. You know, the fact that I've got the camera set wide so I make sure that I catch any hand motions or size differential that I'm going to try to use. But I wonder if that's off-putting to somebody who's coming on to watch a live stream. Because are they going to be looking for flashy videos and things like that, or are they really wanting the interaction with the people?
With technology now, you can add like other screens with images. It puts more work on you. But you're right. As far as viewing,
See,
we've noticed this. I've actually noticed just last night. Right. I've noticed this last night where the game group just kind of busted open to a full house.
Yeah.
Where I see that people walk in, much like I did, and we just get hooked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would happen online. I think online might be more for the current players. Might just want to be
isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? The people that are doing live, I know that a lot of people who live stream are looking at. They think that Twitch, by its mechanism, is going to give them a revenue stream because they're going to build popularity. They're going to have viewership. But if the view of the game is 6 faces, even if I'm able to get the screen set up so we can get everybody on the screen equitably, what is that to a viewer? It's like a talking head show on the Sunday afternoons. Some people watch it for the content, but the majority of people will just click right past it because they're looking for the flashy, visuals and all of that.
I know there were other bigger channels out there doing like this. I don't know if they were doing the same thing. I think I watched one of those, the Critical Role, and I thought it was basically the same thing, where they're just going head to head to head to head, and they just kind of keep it going.
Right.
They did manage to keep more of a role playing, which I struggle with. I think everybody struggles with. Just stay straight role playing.
Yeah,
it makes it interesting for the viewers.
Right. It's hard not to go, oh, you remember the time that we did the thing with the thing, right?
We do spend a lot of time, yes, which is the best thing about being in person. Yeah. I like seeing old faces, and I think I'm personally like seeing old faces. That's why I keep showing up. I like seeing old faces. I'm not good with change unless certain players start showing up more than 2 or 3 times. Then they click.
The hardest.
You have one that just started doing that, and
the
it's
hardest.
Like, okay.
The hardest part is that Nycos, and any role playing game is kind of like fishing. You throw the line out there, try to lure them in a little bit, and then try to hook them and get them to. And you're right. As far as somebody who walks in, for example, Ray's mom last week deciding to play. That exactly was the template that worked really well in the case of Natalia and yourself. Is oh, my daughter's going to play. It's fine. I'm just going to be here. Don't worry about me. And then 2 weeks later, oh well, I would sure like to be able to help the story because these kids are not getting it.
Well, it might be different. That's why I'm curious. I actually like to watch and hopefully question people on why they do certain things. I've been around this since a long time, since the early 80s, well, maybe late 80s. This type of stuff, the geekdom, the nerddom. That player's mother, I don't think she's been around any of this.
Right.
So it's just kind of intriguing to me that they just kind of fall right in.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think you had 2 players. One of them, I think they both looked like they just kind of came into the hobby maybe less than a year ago.
Yeah.
The feeling I got.
Definitely during the headlights yesterday with those 2.
Well, there were 2 players that were just, I don't want it. They were just there to look around. At least they stuck around. But you never know. Sometimes they stick around. You had it with Deborah and some of these players. They just keep showing up. And it's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and Deborah was a good example. Player's name goes by GJ, and that kind of person actually are the kind of to me the best to hook, because they want belonging. They want to be a part of something. And when you walk into a role playing game, sometimes that's a group and they work together, and other times it's, all business. I'm coming here to advance my character, and I don't care about anybody else at the table. But I really appreciate the fact that our group is so inclusive that once somebody comes in, they are, fundamentally treated like family, that, which means they get insulted and picked on, but generally that's because we like them,
Yeah, we live in a world. I'm witnessing that now. Most people don't realize that. If I pick on you and I bother you, it's because I like you.
Mm-hmm.
Some people see it the other way.
Yeah,
but I think that's it with age.
So that's true. That's true. So when we are talking about the things that I've been doing with the channel over the last week or two is trying to regain my footing and get us going the direction we need to. And I think that there's an interesting merger between the actual production of a role-playing game and the developing of a games group. The group seems easy. That part seems easy. Maybe it's because I've been doing it much longer than I've been publishing. But that mechanism of come in and join us and be part of the team and derive mutual enjoyment from the game doesn't seem to be quite the same level as I need production, or I need promotion, or I need, it's harder to articulate what individuals can do to help. So what are some ways we might be able to improve Nycos from that standpoint?
You lost me a little bit. As far as bringing players in?
Well, in order to get to the point where a viable launch for Nycos as a Kickstarter or as a pro product, we have to ramp up the number of people that are aware of us. And so what would be ways to do that?
Well, like I've told you many times, I've actually slowed down my Kickstarter days.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. I think it's just eye candy for everybody. There's actually actually I've been watching for 2 days now. This Hollywood guy that's been pushing this God, I forgot what it's called. He's been pushing basically an adventure book. I don't think it's a system. And let me look it up real quick. It's got a stupid name in my opinion, but they just do a lot of promotion and it. Jeez, where is it? To me, it seems like they just put a lot of money in right here. It's called Faster Purple Worm. Let me see where it's at now. Yeah, and I think it's just a lot of advertising. I mean, they just flood the social media channels with this stuff, and I just don't know how much money it costs to flood these things with them. But they're almost at $100,000 for just a book, or a few books actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where it's at. I know your idea of doing like a free system. I don't know if you discussed this or if it's okay to discuss it.
Yeah,
but
it's fine. It's fine that you. Well, how does the saying go? It's a private conversation between me and you and potentially 3 million viewers. No big deal. So
well,
yeah.
Just real quickly, there's probably a better idea, but I do see a lot of people just pumping out adventures for a certain game system.
Right.
And that's great too. I just.
Or it gives variability to the storytellers to have alternatives, so that it doesn't. They're not all cookie cutter, but the companies.
That's where I see it. I just see it in just advertising and just the eye candy. That's all I see, and that's where I see people just click. And a lot of these book stuff is a lot easier because a lot of people I think are doing PDFs, which is probably even easier for everybody now. It's like best thing on the planet for you guys.
Yeah.
Have to worry about publishers and stocking and boxes and.
That's true. And as far as production value, a high quality PDF is every bit as graphically pleasing as a paper bound book, I suppose. And maybe it's because I'm old, but I like the tangible product too, though. I like to have a copy of the book.
You know what? You've been getting quite a bit. Yesterday was kind of amazing to me. I'd be curious to see if people would rather buy the PDF version. I know I'm old-fashioned. I got all my older stuff from certain game systems, and I know my daughter, she's still kind of like me, an old soul. We still like the paper copy, but we've noticed that it's probably easier to find content. Like yesterday, I have a bunch of new players, and it probably would have been easier if they just download a PDF. They can type a search. I'm looking for. I know we had a player that was playing. I know I always butchered your names.
Maruk, yeah.
And he was. I was say again.
Yeah, you said it right, Maruk.
Yeah, and he was looking for real quick the features that the 6 things to pick, and it would have probably been easier. It's like, dude, just type that in, boom, 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 and it could have kept got it going real quick. So it might be easier. I'd just be curious if you just provide, and it's like, hey, you guys could just pay the money here, download a PDF, do the searches, boom, boom, boom,
right. But and again, the irony there is that the data is what they're really looking for, so that doesn't have to have visuals. But as you said, the shiny bright lights though is what people are putting their money into. So,
as a matter of fact, we just picked up. Well, I don't want to get in. Anyways, we just picked up the new D&D book, and my daughter basically just goes straight to 3 or 4 rules. That's it. Well, I spent a lot of money for just 3 or 4 rules. She doesn't care about the artwork or nothing. So it's like, I just want to see the changes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, it does come down to just that.
Yeah. So.
As far as the Kickstarter, like I said, it's always these things I think are just flooding the market with advertising.
I'm still on the fence on whether or not Kickstarter is even the way to go, because if we're talking about something where it's PDFs, we could operate through just the Patreon and just get ongoing support.
Well, you would have to do 3 or 4 things. I've seen a lot of people do the 3 channels. You got the Kickstarter, you've got the Game Found, which is I'm sure you know of it.
I haven't heard of that one, so tell me more.
Well, that's probably bigger, I think. That's only concentrated. It's a crowdfunding, and it's concentrating on just board games in general. Okay. So everybody that goes there, that's all you're looking for.
Okay. So
and they do their own advertising in there, so I don't know how much they charge for their own advertising, because as soon as you go on their page, it's called Game Found.
Okay.
You'll see recommended projects and stuff.
And so
and that's where I find myself.
Yeah, got you.
I don't know how they work that system, but that is just straight board games.
Okay.
You got the drive-through RPG. I don't know how much they charge just to put your stuff out there. I don't know if they even
we actually have my first and only published Dungeons and Dragons module is on there, and it hasn't.
I think I saw it. Yeah. I think I ran across it a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
that might be the better thing. I think you have to flood it with those 2 or 3. Kickstarter is just a big one. Everybody the name just rolls, but it's a generic term now, like Xerox.
Right, exactly, and it's like in order to be
and everything gets
credible,
lost there.
Yeah, exactly.
So unless you advertise.
Ironically, if you're not there, they don't know where to look for you, and if you are there, they can't find you anyway. So
yeah, you have to send people the direct link to that game, because believe me, I've tried to find other projects I've forgotten. It's like, if you don't know the exact name, you're never finding it.
Right, exactly.
But Game Found is you'd have to flood everything. I think those 3 big systems.
Okay.
And as far as games, like I said, we've discussed this in length. I think it's just for a player like myself that's already hooked, and you have quite a bit of them already. The online thing works for a lot of us. Of course, schedules changes. Like you've seen it, these groups go up and down. Before you have 2 players one day, 10 the next, 15 the next, back to 2.
Yeah.
Thank goodness you're a pro, so you're able to just keep it going. You don't cancel them, and you keep the story moving.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of actually, I'm having some issues now with certain. Well, I've been taking interest in the local game store and their advertising on their stuff, and I think they get a lot of people that just fail. They don't show up. They cancel, and you lose a lot of interest.
Well, I think that there's also a perception, and the game store we're talking about in Redlands specifically, there's a perception that role players are flaky. They think that generally, and so therefore they don't hold them to the level of demand that they would put on a board game guy. If a board game guy came in and said, we're going to do this thing, and then didn't show up or didn't do a thing, there'd be a hue and cry. Whereas if D&D, of course, if their game master doesn't show, they just put a post in, nope, no game this week, and then they get people that are frustrated. Uh, they drive however far to come and play and can't because there's no
Oh, I get that.
storytelling.
Life happens,
Yeah.
and I think I've noticed too. Uh, I like I said, I've been around the world a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Never really played it until my daughter, for some reason, we just happened to walk and meet you, and then all of a sudden we're like I said, that's our interest now: RPGs and and TCGs, three
Mm-hmm.
letter words.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh, what was I gonna say? I've noticed the ups and downs
Mm-hmm.
lately in just the past year or two, watching how this stuff just shoots up and back down. You know how all of a sudden D&D becomes popular. D&D does some stuff. Everybody jumps to another RPG. They cash in for a little bit, and it just does this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've also noticed that over the years, a lot of these people that play specific systems, they've just been playing for a long time. They're buddies. The game store used to have people years ago, before the store was even open. I
Mm-hmm.
would always meet every Tuesday, and I would always kind of not look down on them, but just kind of questions like, these 6, 7 people always show up. They always sit at the same picnic table, and they're just sitting there chatting away for 4 to 6 hours. And now I know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, well,
So it makes no difference where they were.
I,
It
I,
just
found,
happens to be.
I found it fascinating that yesterday I ran into one of the games groups that I've seen them, or I've seen several of the players around, but they always, like you said, they play with them with just their small group. And I found it fascinating. They are playing basically a different system every week. And
Really? Huh.
yeah, so they were just now getting ready to play some Delta Green. They played some Call of Cthulhu a couple of weeks ago. And I, to my
That's
mind,
amazing.
why would you want to learn 18 different systems?
That is true. I said that's amazing mainly because of that. That's like I've told you. How do people buy this 336-page book? A whole new systems. You got the GI Joe, the this and that, and you've told me that most of these run the same, like a lot of these board games. It's like, why are you learning? And then we get back to you,
Right.
which is a conversation I have with my daughter almost every once or twice a week on the drive to school. We end up with the same. We talk about a lot of stuff, and
Right. But you
when
boil
we
it
go in
back
this
down.
sort, it goes back to the same thing. It's like my daughter really likes a certain system now. I get it. I'm okay with it. For other reasons, she has friends, and at the school system, the
Right.
school now has a group. But we get back to your same system. Why just don't play this?
Right.
It's just simpler. You can plug and play whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. I think that may be what it really comes down to from the player standpoint. Is I think that the players want to be told. It's really weird. It's like they want to be told that this is the system, and they want to have to bound themselves by that rigidity because our world is doing that to us on a daily basis. It's saying, don't be creative, don't be imaginative, be imitative. If you like space stuff, then you should like Star Wars. And so we can shove Star Wars down your throat because that's the only sci fi
Yes, you gotta live in that
culturally.
universe.
Right. And therefore, I mean, I heard a horror story. Somebody suggested that because uh, Disney owns Firefly now, because they own Joss Whedon, that they may roll the Firefly universe into Star Wars. And to me, that would be nightmare fuel to even think about that, because that universe, the Star Wars universe, is so removed from the universe we live in that, because Firefly is theoretically supposed to be our future, whereas
No,
Star
I get
Wars
it. I
is
follow that.
never our future.
Yeah, I think some people just want to play. And my daughter falls into this, and I've seen it and many other people, not a
Mm-hmm.
lot, that they're into brand name, and by that I mean they want to play this,
Right.
and that's fine. And I think over time people grow. I think what you get is a lot of well, I can't even say that because you do get brand new people. But I think it's I don't know. It's just hard to explain the RPG concept to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they're playing. and I've told you this many times, and I make jokes about it. My daughter gets a little bit angry about it. You're playing a system. You might as well play a board game. You're moving a figure square to square, following an extensive rule set,
Mm-hmm.
and somewhere in there there's a little story, but there's not much of a story, and that's what some people like. Uh, you might get, I don't know if you've been getting over the years, people that switch both. They like that and they like this. That's how kind of we are now. It's like I like to play that now, and I like to play your stuff because I like to follow a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to sell people into what you do. I've tried the very few interactions I've had with people, I've learned to just kind of give up.
Well,
But it's just hard
I
to.
want to encourage you never to give up, because the reality is that we do change people over time. We just don't get to know when we make that change. A great example is
By that I mean shortly. It's like I've life has hit me pretty hard. We've discussed this very tiny
yes,
little bit, but
yes,
it's like at some point it's like I don't have time. I'm one of those guys. It's like, you know what, you're right, I'm wrong. It's just hard to explain to people. It's like you're gonna sit down here and you're gonna get a story. And I think once people sit down once or twice, and I'm gonna actually witness this hopefully with that new player's mother.
mm-hmm.
If all of a sudden they start wanting to be the story. My daughter's not present anymore because at times she just can't. By 8:30 she's asleep. She can't do it to school,
Right.
but she still wants her character because she tells me every so often she still wants to see what her character's done. That's why I decided to play her character last night.
That was kind of cool.
So people do get. It's amazing to me how they just we just get involved in this story, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not like a module where it's like, okay, we're done in 2 or 3 days or we're done in one day. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this thing goes on forever.
Yeah.
It goes on forever.
Yeah.
And the whole note taking on this game, I don't think there's ever been a game, and you would know, where people have a notebook. We don't have like a little scratch pad. It's a notebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had a new player last night, and I was kind of like trying to get him into that, and she's a little weird and scared, but it's like, that person clicked real quick with me, where it's like, you might want to take notes because I think you're gonna get hooked into this thing, and this is what this game is. You take notes and you do your thing.
Yeah. Well, I think what the reason why Nycos works more than anything is that the story is not something that somebody is broadcasting to you. It's not, here's Star Wars, you must conform to these boundaries. And because of the fact there are no boundaries, your mind can wander and say, well, what if we went to this location, or that piece he mentioned just there would be kind of an interesting side angle to follow or whatever. And so therefore the player starts to bring human natural curiosity into it. They've proven over and over again that the brain desires conflict. Our brains want to engage with puzzles. We are pattern making, and that pattern making mechanism in our brain doesn't really want a solution. It just wants to have that wonder, that curiosity, that what if. And I think that's one of the things that Nycos does in spades, is it leaves you with a ton of what if possibilities that your brain can work on. Kind of like an earworm in music. They say that a song that gets stuck in your head is because you remember most of the words, but you don't remember a certain piece. So your brain's trying to process through to the end of the song so that you can let it go. And that's how an earworm works. So Nycos is like that, where, yes, I've given you 17 different storylines and you're following 3 of them, but those other 12 or whatever are hiding in the back, occupying space in your brain, making you wonder about what might happen in other ways.
With all that being said, it takes a storyteller. That's something my daughter's trying to do
Mm-hmm.
right now. We talked about this for some reason. She wants to be a game master, a dungeon master, a storyteller, running a system, a game, which most people never
I could have
want to
told
do.
you. I could have told you from day one she was going to be a storyteller. She's got effervescence. She's got the personality in spades. She doesn't. She's not afraid of making her opinion known, and those are the kinds of elements you need to be a storyteller. So she's got the chops. She's got what it's going to take to do it. But you're right. There isn't enough education or information out there on how to make that transition. And as I've said in the case of Natalia, I'm ready and willing and able to do so in whatever format that you want, whether it be a private setting or if you want to go more public and maybe have her be a open student where other people might watch the way she's learning, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think that's something that you could probably figure to do videos on that little DM. What I'm getting at is your system, it's very, very open. I mean, extremely open. Where you, as the game master, usually just drives the story. Most people might have a problem with that. They're like, I got the system, I like it. It's a D100. It's super simple. You know, your skill set, you just make them up. It's a very open system. What do I do? You know, and by that I mean, you know, as a game master, most people I think are used to, and I know I'm stuck in this little hole, little box where we're used to pre-made stories. Matter of fact, I got one here with a lot of miniatures. I like to paint stuff, so it's like you buy this thing, and this thing has a pre-made. I don't know, it's like a tiny booklet, so you run that. I don't think most people have the very few. I'm gonna say very, very few to run something like you run. And I'm going to bring another example from yesterday, which I think, I'm glad I showed up. That last half hour, I think threw a big twist into me that I just joined that adventure just because I wanted to see how that Tuesday group got clicked.
Right.
But your other core players, and I think it just kind of like, and by that I mean you at the very end, you decided to throw that twist of, you guys are supposed to, you know, these things are not in the right place. You guys are supposed to put these people in the right place. What I'm trying to say is a lot of stories, it's like you're able to think this stuff on the fly. I'm pretty sure you didn't think, I'm sure that kind of story you had in your back of your mind, but it's just, I don't think most people have that, where it's just like, I just need to read a story that's going to tell me, okay, we're going to go in this passageway, has a left and a right, this is already pre-made here, that's pre-made there, and you kind of run it. I hope I'm making myself kind of.
Yeah, well, I think that's the reason why I've defined the storytellers for NycosRPG as directors, not as game masters. A game master.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling you, and I think I insult you because I keep saying you're not a game master, and you say you're like a world creator. A director would probably be a best way to put it. You just don't sit there and read a rule set and run an adventure. It's like you're playing, and I think I was trying to mention one of these new players either yesterday or not too long ago, where it's like, we're here playing in that guy's brain. So there's nothing behind the screen. You carry a screen, and it's like, it's nice and all, but everything is behind the brain. It's like, you're not going to see what's behind. You can look behind that screen, you're not going to see nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just going in that ride, and you don't know what you're getting, and somewhere down the line, stuff ties in. And you've built a system, obviously.
Yeah,
everything ties in to some extent.
It was brought to my attention that my play style is kind of like a blowtorch if I don't bring a GM screen. When I'm playing the way we normally play, I don't have anything on the table and I just roll the dice out in front of everybody, and there's, like you said,
I get it.
There's no book, there's nothing like that. They said, but putting the shield out there isn't to protect you. It's not hiding your information from them. It's you're putting up a barrier so that the players can feel comfortable because you're not flowing the blowtorch across them all the time.
It makes a lot of people that just came in, it's something natural to them if they played a few RPGs. It's like, we're used to seeing this, that's fine. Right. I jumped in on one yesterday, for example. A lot of people played behind as a matter of fact, I wasn't gonna ditch you, but I was gonna go upstairs for like 20-30 minutes because there were two groups upstairs, and to me it's just they're running like a speaker system, they're running a laptop. These people got. I'm like, you really need a 6-foot table just for all your stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, and I get it. My daughter used to play with a guy on Saturday that used to bring a whole cart full of stuff, and it's like everybody likes. It's like, oh my god! It's like I'd rather, your style and your game system is just, you don't need all that. And I think I've seen this on the Critical Role too, where it's like they don't have all that. It's like, just sit down and let's just go. Character creation is real quick, and I think you slowly perfected it. I know a lot of us get excited and we jump in. A lot of times it's like, I need you guys, to remove yourselves for 20, 30 minutes while you introduce new players. But it's very simple. It's like, put these numbers down and let's go.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday with 4 players, I think it worked perfect. I mean, and with 4 players, you got 2 of them going real quick.
Yeah.
And I think they just came in because they had nothing to do on a Tuesday night, and that's great. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
but you got those 2 going like that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges with new players is either they've come in with too many perceptions or no perceptions. And if they come in with too many perceptions, they're trying to make it work. Like, bless his heart, the guy that was playing the Maruk was trying so hard just to use the skills he saw on his sheet because he thought that's how you advance. Was, I want to set a trap.
Yeah, I get it.
Where's the story element? Where's the reason for setting a trap?
He got a little worked up, and I don't, it is what it is, but it's hard to think. And sometimes it's nice to be like, look, and after people showing up, but like I said, after people showing up 2 or 3 times to me, they just already clicked. They're already interested.
Right.
And you slowly just, we're here for 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it may be. We're basically going to be friends here. We're going to eat together, drink, whatever.
Yeah.
It's what I always say, don't play the system. I always say that. And it's like some people, that's what I was kind of hinting at him. It's like, just go for the ride. Don't play the system. I'm sure you get people that do that.
Well,
they just want to play their skills. It's like, I got to hit the 3 or 4 things here. It's like, no, you don't. It's like me. I'm a clear example. I got no skills, really.
Well,
I come here for the sport.
Sergey noted that about you. He says, Jean isn't here every week making sure she's pushing her numbers. There's going to be an advancement someplace in her. She's going to get a ramp. She's going to find a way to make a ramp in this week's scenario.
But she puts it in the story.
Right. She shoehorns it. She makes sure that it happens. Yeah. Whereas you really should be advancing because the numbers of the group are increasing and therefore it's becoming more dangerous and more difficult. So you sort of need to be doing some advancement. And yet you're like, I'm here for the story. I'm wanting to hear what that guy's got to say. I'll take my notes because I want to make sure that I'm up to date on what I need to know. But I'm listening to that. I'm not trying to forward a character.
I'm going with the story. Again, like I said, you also have a lot of players. You run so many games. I don't know. But by you running we go back to we're not talking about the game system, but mostly like you. But real quick, by you running so many games, yesterday was an eye opener to me. It's like, oh, cool, this group is doing this, and I'd hate to say it, but I'm like, their stuff is cooler than our stuff on Monday. And then you have the Saturday group that you're telling me all of a sudden is doing something totally different. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And somehow all that ties into your system, and I think it might be a hard thing to sell people into this. It's like, I think the name you have for your book now is probably the perfect thing. It's called System Book. I'm trying to see if I have it here somewhere.
Well, I have the master book is going to be the core rules of how to do the basic things like building a persona, learning how to use.
Yes, that's something we can discuss later.
Right,
and
then Dark Shards is going to be the first of the system books, and that's going to be the high fantasy setting stuff.
Yeah, so what you're gonna do is the master, and then you'll sell like a lot of these people. Then you'll sell like this guy up this thing is just gonna sell the 4 or 5 different ones where it's like, and these will tie into the 1920s. This will tie into the space. This will tie into the fantasy. Mm-hmm. Like you already have, which is perfect. But what I meant by system book is you're just buying the system. Mm-hmm. You're doing whatever you want with it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a system like that. I'm sure there is.
Well, going back historically, GURPS, the generic universal role-playing system by Steve Jackson Games, was that was what they intended it for it to be. Unfortunately, they built it basically as a cookie cutter from Dungeons and Dragons. So you have a hit point pool and you have all the same problems.
They bloated it up.
Yeah. But that was intended to be a play anything you want kind of a system, and D20 was the same for Dungeons and Dragons. The D20 licensing agreement was intended to do just that, and it failed also because there were way too many people already in the high fantasy genre that were buying into it, and so therefore the Spycraft which was Alderac Entertainment, took the D20 and went into modern espionage using the Dungeons and Dragons rules, basically.
Well, everybody likes, Dungeons and Dragons got the name. I think Dungeons and Dragons misses the mark where they miss the mark. And I know older players play it where they just do an open game system where it's like you have certain areas. You have your Greyhawk, you have your Dragonlance, and I think they missed the mark there where they're just like you're not selling players, and it's hard to sell players. Just like play in this whole Dragonlance universe, and you can plug in these iconic characters.
Right.
They're too busy, I think, selling people linear stories, and I think that's what people want. I mean, I have a shelf full of them there, and I've collected over the years. And that's something you have, where it's like, yeah, you have the Dragonlance universe called Nycos, and you do have your iconic characters that we make, and your older players, your loyal players that've been around for a long time, they get to leave their mark. And I found that very intriguing with when I first joined with a certain character named Forgoth, where it's like he's trying to leave his mark. You got Jean, they're trying to leave their mark. My daughter quickly wanted to leave her mark, and you're able to remember these things. I don't think you even write these things down, but
Well,
people are able to leave their marks.
they become incorporated into the collective
Yes.
memory of what Nycos is, and
Yes.
so yeah.
Yes, and it's just hard to sell somebody. It's like I think it's like if somehow you can it's like you're buying a whole system here. You are the director. You get to run it. I'm just giving you the basic rule set, and just the characters, the races, just the everybody wants something to put down. So you
Right.
give them options. Yeah, out of 7, you pick 6, which is super simple. Yesterday, I'm like, look, you read 7, pick one that you don't want. Pick a few skills, and then after that, you go going. It's like yesterday we had players. It's like we're in a boat. We're gonna be in a boat for the next 4 hours. So all of a sudden, it's like, well, now we have this person steering towards this set of skills, and you never know where they go.
Right.
Yeah, again, it's about the story for me.
Well, I think you've said some things that I think that I've heard you say often, but I think
Anytime.
your the pieces that you're saying often aren't really the part that you want to focus on, because you say it's really hard, and it's not. What's difficult is how do we articulate it, because you get the idea of ownership, you get the idea that you're, as you say, making a mark. And if you get that, then I've done something right for that to have been conveyed to you. So we have to figure out how to convey that en masse. How do we get a group of people to... I just imagine at some point, I don't know when that critical point will be, but we will come up with something that we can say to storytellers that will just, all the little light bulbs will go on, because they will say, yeah, I do want to make my own worlds. I do want my own creativity. I do want...
And I think I have it wrong. I'm always in the assumption because I'm not creative like you. I need, and I already know this about myself. I need to be told what to do.
I don't
So
agree.
I assume
you are
most
creative.
people are like this.
I disagree with you. I believe you are creative. I think you
Well,
sell yourself short.
as far as like, if I open a box here, I can't sit there and create things. My daughter, for example, from day one, somewhere in here, there's like a certain game we bought years ago, and that's actually how she got into it. It's like we bought the game, and it had its pre-made adventures. Those adventures, I think, went out the door real quick. Where all of a sudden she's
Past
there's
them.
somewhere in here. She started making her own in that little universe. That's what she's been trying to do actually, and I've been trying to get her to go. You can just do this. Just plug Nycos into it. She still wants to plug in D&D into it, and it's like you're just bloating it. You're adding a lot more stuff, all these visuals. It's like just plug this in, and it moves faster.
Well, I think that actually may be a piece of the real message, is that the parsing of role playing into classes, where you have to be a fighter, you have to be a wizard, you have to be and those limit your choices. In some ways, is more palatable, because we don't want to think about all the possibilities. When you sit in the world of Nycos and you know you can do anything, you can get vapor lock going, holy crap, we can literally do anything. We could go anywhere.
Not a bad thing.
And that's scary to most people, because that's not how they live their
Yeah,
lives.
I did notice a little bit of that yesterday. It's like, what kind of characters? Oh, you could be this. And I stopped real quick because I'm like, you could be pretty much anything. And I realize real quick, some people are used to I just need 3 or 4 choices. It's like, I get it.
Yeah.
But after you're hooked here, and I always use the word hook because everybody gets hooked here, then you can kind of slowly switch. We seen that with a young player where he's went this route and he wants the opposite.
That's
It's
why.
kinda cool to
That's
see.
why in the book, in the system, what's built in are the 6 ways, the pathways towards advancement. So the way of deeds, the way of words, the way of roads. Those are actually, if you will, the templates from the classes. So way of deeds is code, I suppose you could say, for warrior. Way of words is minstrel, bard, priest. Way of wonders, obviously, magicians, druids, that kind of thing. So the ways are the equivalent of the class limitations without being a limit, because you can choose from any of the ways. And that's kind of to emulate the reality is that if I lived in a city that was next to the water, I might have learned may have learned fishing skills, but then I moved to a community out in the woods, and so now my fishing doesn't work. So I had to learn some skills about hunting. So now I can fish and hunt. You see, those are all ways of the wilds, but they're so disparate that there's no boundaries, limitations. So when you have a player who comes from a class background, you can say, if you're familiar with the wizards, then I would recommend Way of Wonders. If you're looking for the mystery and spy stuff, then look at the Way of Intrigues. That way they'll narrow their search intentionally. But I balk at that personally because I don't like the idea that you feel bounded by them or limited by them.
This is where you have to start it that way, I think, because if you just open the fire hose at them, they just go, So a lot of times it's like, what do you want to be? I notice a lot of people rather be a sec gen, which I think is the niche here. That's great. Then just go with the flow. We're just here to tell a story. So I'd be curious. I'm always curious how people just keep showing up. You just had a new player do that, which not only that, he does like 2 or 3 games now, which is kind of amazing.
Ray, good kid.
So they just, they get hooked, and it's like, God, man, it takes people a few months. It took you 3 days. But I think it clicks where it's like you can play whatever you want. We're not sitting here. You're not dumping a ton of money in this thing. There's not much here. It's just show up, participate.
But therein lies the rub, because the argument is if somebody has spent a lot of money on Dungeons and Dragons, they are now invested, and there's a big dollar price they paid to be there. And so somehow that is perceived to be more valuable than a property that's free. So that's why I balanced with the idea of, do I want Nycos to be a free system? Because if I could get everybody to play it, they'd come and buy the books as a derivative of wanting to know more. But then again, if the system is open and everybody can play it, why don't we want them all playing it?
Well, like I briefly touched on this, and I talked to the owner of the store yesterday. We're gonna get together a little bit better. You can also run this system the same way as, let's say, Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder with the miniatures and the squares, I call it. It works. You've done it before.
Oh yeah.
It works, and I like I said, I'd like to see something. Well, I'd like to see something here in a few months where we can advertise it and get more people. I know it's hard. I know people are used to. I get it. But but it works both ways. We've done it before.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be more popular where you would bring your stuff and your toys, and I bring my, some of my stuff, and it's like people do like the eye candy, and it works the same way. We're not going to get bogged down here in the same 4 squares moving around. And I remember we've done sessions where that's what we did. We sat in a Fire Giants, I forgot what it was, house, and we literally sat there for 4 hours moving around, and it was great. So it works both ways.
Right.
You don't have to limit it. I just, you can just do the storytelling. At some point, your player, your groups, or your mood, you might want to put it down to, your maps and everything. It works the same way. I mean, it still runs the same way.
Right.
You still got your movement. You still got your, the attack obviously moves up a million times faster. So more stuff can happen. works the same way.
Yeah. Well, and in those terms, there are the mechanics rules that I have put together that, for example, I did mechanistically, I did a miniatures game specifically for a scale that you don't find models for anymore, in that they're theater scale. The idea of not just being a specific battlefront, but you're literally playing, the Atlantic Wall. So you are doing the entire coast of Normandy, not just D-Day, not just Omaha Beach, but you're able to play at that much larger scale, and the miniatures are smaller. I have that's already been, it's ready to be published as well. So we could, that could be easily added, especially when we are talking about the other system books. We could definitely do additional add-ons for that. But as far as like having a promotional event where we play NycosRPG using the miniatures or whatever, like we are talking about for the Halloween adventure, the Monster Bash or whatever. Sure, that's a
it'd be nice to get a lot of people. I know, I get it. Stuff goes up and down. I really don't want to mention stores or anything like that, but it goes up and down. Some, sometimes you don't get nobody to show up. Sometimes you do, and it's just, it does goes up and down. It's all about advertising. It's all about, the hype.
Opportunity. I think that's, somebody suggested that what I should be doing is telling Rich that I'll be the on-call game master every hour of the day during the day shift at the store, so to speak, and just charge him so much an hour per player that I run through stories, because I could run games nonstop, that many different tales of Nycos.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's just believe me, I've seen it's just sometimes you just sit there and there's something, like, for example, there's something going on. I think today's Wednesday. Yeah. And it's like a long story, but I'm like, God, you guys advertised the wrong time, advertised the wrong date. It's like, nobody's gonna show up. I was actually gonna show up today, but I ended up with something to do, a job. But it's like, you guys screwed up again. Yeah. I don't like to, it's like, I get it. It's like,
well, everybody's just.
That's not this topic. That's not this topic. What I'd like to see.
Everybody's just doing what the best what they can.
I get it. Believe me, I get it. I do the best I can with you and with him. And I've told him, and I'm telling you. I don't know if I told you this, but I've told him many times. I need you to stay here because I'm selfish. You guys are my mental health.
Yes. Well, that's what I need you,
and I need you.
During COVID, that's exactly what I was doing. That's the reason why I was running nine campaigns
and a week. we go back to the an hour ago in our conversation. Where do these things work best? And I think once you have the hook online, I think you can even reach people, say, in Australia. I think you had a view or something like that from Germany or Australia for a while.
We've had regular viewers from other places. The biggest challenge is that I don't have a tendency to be able to operate for more than unless I'm running a session. I almost feel like I'm burdening people if I'm doing a 2-hour video or whatever, because that's a long time to have to listen to somebody. So I prefer to do like this in today's episode. This talk is you and I doing what we do all the time, but doing it in such a fashion that other people can get something out of it. But I don't know if that's
Yeah, this is enough for this. Most people, believe me, I watch all these YouTube videos, and it's 15 minutes max.
Right.
But what I'm getting at is this. Back to your thing, is just you obviously already do it. Where it's like I'm looking at it right now on your Discord. I think Discord. I used to hate Discord. Now it's one of my best friends. I get it now. Mm-hmm. I like the organizational, and it's very easy to find your stuff. You organize it different now, which is even nicer. Or it's like just come in and play. It's drop in, drop out. At some point, obviously, the interest goes away. Life changes, stuff moves around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I just see this thing as like, you're selling a system.
Mm-hmm.
We've discussed it extensively. I like it, obviously. You're also selling. Actually, there was some people yesterday at the store. I think you're already playing games. I was trying to help John at the front because he was by himself, and it was like I'm basically they were asking real quick, and I'm like, yeah, it's this book. It's Theater of the Mind real quick, and it's like we're very fortunate enough to have the author and the world create here. So what I'm trying to get at is you can also you also have the option where it's like, yeah, we can play with you. The guy who created the game system, that you can join his, you can go in his brain and leave your mark. Join one of these many sessions. They all got their different storylines, but they're connected, and that's a hook to me. Believe me, that's the hook to me. Where it's like, huh, and that's the hook to the new player. And to other players, they just like, I want to play this one, I want to play that one, and they both interconnect in the same world, and
Right.
they do different changes. All of a sudden we can hear, which I think is real cool, where I think you build a world. Whoever buys the system too could do. They're open. They can build a world where it's like you can run 3 different adventures, 3 different groups. You can do what you're doing now, the Gnome News Network, where it's like you can just, people, it's kind of cool, do a little 5-minute clip, nothing more than 5 minutes, and just briefly, hey, these heroes are doing this. They've turned off the orange light, and it's been visible over here. And all of a sudden, I'm hoping on Monday I join, and all of a sudden it's like, what happened? But we don't know. But sadly enough, I know because like yesterday.
Exactly.
But it's just kind of cool to see what happened.
Yeah.
Who turned the light off, kind of deal. Who pushed the button?
Yeah, I think that
type of thing.
that may I remember that.
Those are moments that you can't sell. You can't sell that. I don't know how you can package that, but it's like what happened last night. The last half hour to me was like a huge like, are you kidding me? And I think it hit our player Corvax too, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's what we're supposed to do. And I'm thinking that's so cool.
Well, I remember that in the 7th iteration, the one thing that I had to say to every player at some point during the campaign, and became kind of the buzzword, was, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Are you
And I like that.
you want to do that?" But today, in the modern iteration, it's the who pressed the button. That is the now the buzzword. Okay, who pressed the button? Who did that thing that we just found out about in the story? There's something happened over there. What was that? Who did that?
And that's something that you can create in this system. I don't think other systems will even come close to that. Because people are just playing either the same story, and we go back to this thing that today that I wanted to play, but I can't. But you're playing the same. They're running the same story 5 days 5 days during the month, and that's awesome. But it's like you're just running the same thing. It'd be nice if this can interact with this, and this world does that. And I think people need to understand that. It's like you're buying a game system here. It's very simple, and I hate to say it. I know we want to blow it up, and it's like, but most of it is here. And the tools you can run, and you can show right here. I'm pointing at the different sessions. It's doable. You've been doing it for a long time. These, you can just create these things. And I think a lot of old RPGers, like I was referring to this old group at the pizza place that used to sit there, and I would look at them going, what the heck are these people doing every day just sitting around? They're playing D&D. I don't think they were playing D&D. But again, they were probably playing a system where they've been playing a long time. So I think a lot of these old, and there's got to be a bunch of old timers out there that just, they would like to just have some freedom. GURPS didn't do it. I don't think anything out there's really doing it. I'm not following that market too much.
Well, I think that's something else that I think maybe I haven't even made clear enough to you, and that is that game masters and storytellers who use Nycos can have their story become, as you said, a mark on the Nycos system if they stay integrated with me. In other words, Scott, our friend, the paraplegic, is he's running adventures in a place called Timerack Cove. Well, Timerack Cove, in his world, is the gateway to the world of Nycos. So
Don't tell me these things. Don't tell me these things.
So literally, you can actually join Scott's games and play in his world and still be in the story of Nycos. So you could be a
I didn't know that. So that's another twist. That's another hook where you already have you already have a very decent, very good actually online presence It just doesn't have the viewers, but it's already there. It's already built, and then you can just plug this in and say, well, on this world of, I already forgot what you said.
Well, it's a location.
There's a portal here that brings you here. This other person here is creating this. So why don't you go ahead and do something else over here? Maybe you want to do something else in this world and have your own group of champions, and you guys just make up your own thing, and just somewhere down the line you have a portal where you can just kind of feed things in and be like, this group is searching for whatever, this dragon. People like, a lot of people like dragons and this and that. Okay, that's fine. You have those two. And then you could integrate it to be like, well, you know what? All of a sudden now.
So mechanically,
let me give you guys a twist.
Mechanically, the way it works, just so that you're aware, because Gene's also a participant in this. They purchase physically a hex of the world of Nycos, and if you've seen the map on the cover of the book, there's 18,000 hexes, so lots of room for growth. That hex then you devise for your own purposes, and as long as you don't want it to become part of the world of Nycos, it's happening in your realm. But as soon as you want some of that information to leach over and become lore in Nycos, then you provide that to me as part of the deal. That part of the product becomes a Nycosian item, and therefore the licensing falls on this side of the line. But now that Time Rack Cove exists because he wrote it as a 1,000-word essay, it's now lore on Nycos that Time Rack Cove
hold
exists.
on, I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole. I was trying to cut you off, but I'm there. So he's built a whole different map. It's on another planet, let's say.
Right. It's all of the adventuring he's ever done, in his own world, his own set of players, his own whatever.
Yeah.
But now, when it comes to him wanting to invite people to come and play in the world of Nycos, he says, "Remember in Time Rack Cove, there's that portal. That's how you get to this place," and therefore he's able to associate them together. And therefore, he can leak stories of what's going on in Nycos into his world.
I'm about to do something familiar.
Welcome to Nycos.
Yeah, because now I'm intrigued. Because now, obviously, I don't know this. This is the problem with us players. I know a lot of people probably like that, but a lot of us players have this problem where we know too much, and now I want to know somehow. I want to integrate that in my Monday group, where it's like I'd like to see where maybe this portal might lie. And I know another player in the group knows, but they can't say nothing. Well, so somewhere in here, there's something.
Well, Jean's Elwendale right now is 100% in Nycos. So she's only got what I built for it, but she has plans of actually building out the religious structure of the Green Veil and their rectory and their full, temple and all of that. She wants to build that all for her side of the line, so that when you visit it, you're actually going into otherworldly space as well. So,
well, I wish I didn't know that.
Well, this is going in the as we say in the meta. This means that Natalia can eventually build into a part where she gets to pull on the legacy of Nycos and not have to do all the world building if she doesn't want to. She can just utilize what she wants to for her own satisfaction, even if it's even if it's in the Dungeons and Dragons mechanism, because there is a way to convert a D&D character into a Nycosian character.
That's another subject I like to discuss. That you should discuss also, because I think that subject, it's probably needs to be, if you have a list of subjects way at the beginning. And I think that's what, when I first joined in, I forgot what it was over a year ago, that was what you were doing with a lot of players at that time, taking there and switching them. And some players had not a hard time. It just took them a few months to make the switch. I don't know if you remember. I remember.
No, I know. And mechanically, I know why it was, because they looked at the system where you could have a random ramp and get a 55 like Gene did on just one attribute. But if you converted from Dungeons and Dragons, all your numbers are going to come out somewhere around 35 to 38.
Yeah, I just came just after that, but I remember still getting the back end of that, where I wish I was there. I don't know if you were running. I'm sure at some point you were running. Well, when Forgoth and these guys came in on the monk and the bunny, I forgot their names. When they came in, they were just so used to this and so used to, same with Bowden. I'm using character names.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're so used to, like, well, my character gets 2 actions and an action surge, and I'm used to those terms now with my daughter, and it's like you were slowly just pushing these people out of that. And I think it was pretty quick process where it's like, yeah, we don't do that anymore, and some players are still. But if somehow you can do a discussion or somehow address the issue where it's like, yeah, we all know we're familiar with this rule set, you could still do all that, but we're just gonna switch it over to this system. Yeah, you could still do, like, my daughter loves to play paladins with the I forgot what she calls it, the smite or whatever. She's real mad now that the new here's where we're at. She's mad because the new book has kind of taken that away. But she's all worked up over that. Believe it or not, a high school kid is worked over. I forgot what it's called. They've nerfed it, she says. But I'm like, wow, we're back to this. We had this conversation 2 days ago in the car in the morning. Well, if you were playing Nycos, you wouldn't have that problem. Because it's like, and then of course she's like, blah blah. It's like, okay, I get it. But it's like, just everybody's used to the D&D system. That's just the big boy in the room. If you can just, like, yeah, you can still do all that. Just come over here. We're gonna take that character sheet, and this is the first thing I noticed. And we're gonna take 90% of this character sheet and just get rid of all the pluses and minuses and all that confusion stuff and all the it's like, get rid of that.
We're going to increase your likelihood of contacting your target, but we're going to change the emphasis from the damage that you're dealing to the effect you're going to cause, the condition you're going to invoke.
Yeah, what I'm basing, to me, it's just all that. To me, I call it bloat, and it's like, I understand people want to play it, but I'm just like, oh my god, like, why would you want to put yourself through all that? Oh, and I got a +2, and I got a +3. Oh, we're just like, oh my god, it's like, ugh. But again, it's that's what I call it. I think then there's a difference, TTRPGs and then RPGs. There's a huge difference to me.
Well, as a matter of fact, my video on Monday this week was role-playing games versus role-playing games. Because if you're playing it as a game, then the impact of story becomes secondary. You're not listening to the story.
That's the whole subject here. The past hour, that's where I'm at. That's why I join on Mondays. And that's what I try to tell new players. It's like, we're just playing a story here. Just sit back, relax. There's nothing behind the screen. So you can look all you want. You're not going to see stats. You're not going to see little hidden miniatures. You're not going to see any of that. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. And as you get more comfortable with the group, because a lot of people kind of click in, and I'm trying to see that with the new player, I forgot what his name is.
Right.
I try to use player names. Frederick. Which I still like this. And he's starting to slowly just, like, make us mark. And I'm trying. I like to notice these things, see how long it takes before he fully jumps in, and he's almost there pretty quick.
Ooh, I think he pretty much got it from pretty much day one.
He's already playing in 3 games.
From Frederick to Haruk, his
That's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the get-go, it's like, just sit back.
Yeah, he's playing a character in the Saturday group named Spattle. Another Maruk, and
also thinking.
Yeah, but
but he doesn't come. I don't think he comes from that the D&D where he's used to all that stuff.
Yeah, no, he was.
I didn't know that.
He was a
I'd be curious to ask him how deep they got into it before they just kind of like, I'd rather just do this. I'd rather play a story.
Well, I'm thinking that he played role-play games before because he's such a natural at the role-play aspect. Because even the very first session, he had a voice for Frederick. Most players,
that's true. Yeah.
Most players don't come in with a backup voice like that. That was too funny.
That's true. No, but we're and like well, just between me and you right now, a lot of people ask me, like, I don't watch TV or movies, and it's like, lately people, well, what do you do? And I I don't want to get too much into it, but you can relate 100%. Where it's like, I just play games. I sit with a bunch. My daughter likes to call us all nerds. I sit there and play with a bunch of nerds, and I joke about it to store all the time. You got the Star Wars nerds, the magic nerds, and I watched the movie for 4 hours. That's what I did last night. I watched the movie for 4 hours. It's like, if you can somehow package that, and it's like, Yeah, and I know you know where I'm coming from.
Well, here's where my personal hubris comes in. I think that in the long term, the legacy of 50 years of storytelling and having taught more than 12,000 people how to play role playing games is what I want to have as my legacy. That I want people to see that aspect of it rather than the designer of Nycos. You know what I'm saying? Nycos is a mechanism. Nycos is the way to try to help other
Yeah,
people
a
get to
system.
where we are. But it's not that I'm building it so that it becomes my legacy. You know, unlike, say, the way Dungeons and Dragons became the legacy for Gary Gygax and Gary Gygax and Arneson. They built their entire life franchise on the creation of a property. And to me, the creation of the property is just a tool to get to what I really want. And that is, I
No, I
want to
get
be
it.
seen as the godfather of collective play. I'd love the idea that not only do we role play in fantasy settings like we do with Nycos as we know it now, but in the future, the fact that we can do soap operas and we can do uh, basically nighttime television as a game, because the mechanics for conflict, whether it be actual beating each other up in a fight or verbally, the idea is that you could win an argument and do the same thing, invoke a condition. Yeah, I've shut you up. You can't respond for the next five
Now
minutes.
let me. I know I cut people off a lot. Let me. We briefly tried the space setting. I
I've run
really
it. Yeah,
liked it.
I have an ongoing
Uh,
campaign in the space setting right now on Friday
oh,
nights.
you do okay? Because I was curious because I know everybody wants to do the fantasy. I'd be curious with the hardcore players you have now
So that's
because I know
why
you wouldn't
that
mind. I know I wouldn't mind. I don't think Frederick. I'm gonna call him Frederick. Wouldn't mind to all of a sudden say, hey, you know what? I know you're not gonna cut it off, but say, hey, the Tuesday group or the Wednesday or the Saturday group, can we just
Well, Saturday is going to
and
be
try
role play.
something?
So Saturday is going to be the answer to the question you were really directly
I
not
get it. I get
asking.
it. I tried it once. I didn't have enough time that day.
Right, but
Yeah, because I
the
I did.
element of role play roulette is that all the different fantasies, I mean, all the different genres we're talking about are possible. So
What I'm
yes,
getting at is like, I don't know if all of a sudden you could make the switch, and I know everything is about fantasy, but I think the space setting was working very good, and the Cthulhu one or
oh yeah,
whatever
all of
you want to
them,
call the supernatural
each
1920s.
right. That's
It's,
dread signs.
it's like, huh? Maybe it was like,
Yeah, and
I know I
anyway,
don't have time. I know
yeah,
I'm like, oh my,
that is really the kicker, is that I could literally run a different genre every day. And that's why I was saying that I may talk to the store about just getting them to give me a space, and I just run everything, one day a week of each one of them.
yeah, but I don't know if you have the odd. Well, I guess you could. You got the Monday. It goes up and down. The Tuesday. I know I can't make them all the time, but
But if I
yeah,
was
I
saying
mean,
is
what I
if I
was
was
meaning was your hardcore players just be like, hey, you guys don't mind coming in on a Wednesday or Thursday and we'll do something else. We're not going to do the fantasy. And I'm pretty sure, if Gene, obviously Gene is, I don't want her making a sacrifice so much. But there's like local people. It's like, yeah, if I had the time, I got no problems joining in a different,
well, we could run from
especially
here.
the space one.
We could run it right from here from Discord.
Well, again, that's what we're back to square one, where you can just run them on. But we were talking about having a physical audience.
Oh right, no, I get you, and it really needs to
And
be
it's
so that
like,
you can see that
I'd like
there's
to see it'd be cool. And I understand the store owner's point 100%. I get it.
yeah.
People want this, people want that. I get it. People want a specific brand. It's hard to sell them into this. I get it 100%. But at some point, that's why we're back to like, hey, if you had
Well,
sessions where you people
I
people walking
wonder.
in the back room, you get a lot of looky loos. Sorry, you get a bunch of looky loos on Mondays and Tuesdays whenever you're running. And if all of a sudden they see, two tables smashed together, a bunch of miniatures, I'd hate to say it, but people like to see that. That's where I'm at. I mean, that's as far as business wise, and as far as like where the store's at, I get it 100%.
Well,
And I
what I
try to
wondered,
say, you know
what
what?
I was going to say was, we could just as easily set up to run 6 days a week and say that we're running. I mean, Star Wars, Nycos, Dune, Nycos.
Yeah,
Pick your
Starfly Night.
property,
Basically, that's what you're at.
Nycos. What's that?
Or Firefly.
Well, Firefly.
That's where
Nycos.
your system was basically more realistic.
Right. Therefore, I'm drawing on their memory and their awareness of the realm that they're talking about, but the mechanics are oversimplified and brought down to where it's easy to play and quick to teach a new person. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I know.
that is just as likely, I mean, just as possible, because I don't care. If it sells another book of any sort, that's good for the store. So if I run Star Wars and then they sell a Star Wars manual, that player's only going to be disappointed because the rule system for Star Wars is so much, crappier than Nycos is as far as being
Well,
able to play.
that's a conversation I've had with the owner a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of times, where it's like, and I know you've had it with him, and hopefully what I'm telling you is not news to you, but it's like, yeah, and I've told him many times. I forgot we were just talking a few months ago, where it's like, yeah, but Jonathan has to run D&D. It's like, okay, I don't know, I get it. I get it. You're trying to do something else, but it's like he's back to square one, where it's like brand name sells here. I get it. Same with my daughter. It's like she wants to play D&D now. She wants to try the new rules, and there's somebody's advertising this campaign on well, that's the problem I have. They got all the dates twisted up in times, and it's like you're all jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
Fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help you guys because I can't commit. I can't sit there and say, yeah, I'm gonna do this every day because my life changes by the minute.
Well, you only can do that if we get Nycos good enough that I can put you on salary.
No, I can't even do that because we've discussed this. I can't even do that. Just so you know, I do a lot of stuff for free money. I wish I made money like you, but it's like, you know what? I have other responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people like kind of weird. It's like, well, what do you do all day? It's like, well, I have to be here and here a certain time, and I have to do certain things, so I don't have all that time. I don't have a lot of free time, but it's like, yeah, it's just hard what I do right now. It's like, oh, I gotta be somewhere too. I gotta be somewhere 3:30. I gotta be
If I
somewhere
had,
6 today.
if Nycos was already where I wanted to be in terms of production, and I had a 7-digit number I could throw at you, I think you'd be able to say yes to it. So, I do believe that it's possible down the road. Just
Yeah, it's like with the store. I've tried, but I've even told them I was like, I can't come in. I know what you need. I don't know who you're as a business person. I'm gonna keep it separate. I'm just gonna be a friend that puts money in your pocket whenever I have it because I need you to stay alive.
that's
Just like over here,
well.
I
That's
can't come in.
that does bring me to a pitch that I didn't put into this, but we do need to remind people, if you like what you're seeing on the video, make sure you follow us here on Twitch, and also watch for our videos on over at YouTube at NycosRPG on YouTube. And if you want to know more, patreon.com/Nycos is our support system. It kind of helps me make sure I can keep doing these things. So there, I did my simple plea for
Needs to be at
assistance.
the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do this. I might have more time. I don't know if you want other people to jump in. I'm sure you've hinted at it, and just do smaller topics. I know this one's lengthy. We just kind of
Well,
rant.
we just kind of rambled. We only got an hour and 20, so we didn't go too far. But that's
I could go forever. I got till 1 o'clock.
oh, in the
No,
case
yeah, till 12.
I got no place else to go, and arguably we got
I
at
got
least
till
one.
12.
We got at least one.
I got to hit the road by 12.
Okay, well, we got at least one viewer still on, so we really can't, unless that's you. Maybe it's counting you.
Oh, it's me. Yeah, because I have it open.
That's fair. That's fair. But we had
Yeah, it's mad right now.
additional viewers earlier, so
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's a lot easier than me showing up an hour early at the. But yeah, I mean, you know where I'm at. Maybe yeah, it's just hard to. I mean, once you have to simply just pull the trigger, and I'm surprised you didn't know about Game Found. I think that's probably the better way away from Kickstarter.
mm-hmm. Well,
A lot of people like it better. They pay more money. They pay more. They keep less percentage, and they're just straight board games, RPGs, that stuff. They don't do like the million other things.
Well, I definitely pursue that angle, and all of it.
I don't know if they charge for the features because they do at the bottom. They do features and stuff. You click, you get like 7 or 8.
Right.
How they run it, they might not. They might just want viewers too, so they can get more clicks and more buys and more percentages.
Yeah.
It's just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Your book, I'm not very good. I know you have a very good player on Monday that's very into helping you. Just do a proofread. The reason I mentioned this is because we just bought the new D&D book. One thing my daughter noticed right away was the organization on it was much better than the prior book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I wanted to point to you. It's like, huh. You know,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like, how
why.
much you notice this?
That's why the enhanced edition was so much better than the original base edition of Dark Shards. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
will
because I know yesterday, like for example, yesterday when we're trying to help those two new players in front of me, it was much easier for me to like, oh, right here, table of contents, boom, pick this, pick that, and then of course just these two guys didn't look like they were too. I'd hate to say it, but when you play a lot of these other RPGs, maybe your mind gets infected. It's like the type of work I do right now. I deal with a lot of younger kids, and it's like I usually my spiel is I need you to take your brain and leave it over there for a second. Let's just do this over here. Don't complicate things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
We're in a boat. You just woke up. What do? And then already looking at the character sheet. What can I do? No. I'm not. Okay, let me tell you this again. Take your brain, put it over there. What do you want to do?
You can do anything. So
Don't look at your paper.
there's no numbers
We'll worry
going to
about that
jump out
later.
at you. Numbers don't jump
Yeah,
out at you, right?
Yeah, but we'll worry about that later. Let that guy right there in front of you. He'll worry about all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to see maybe other topics. The other ones don't intrigue me as much, but they might. I mean, I don't know. I know the whole cyberpunk thing was huge. I think about a year or two ago, a lot of people, I remember, were looking for that type of stuff. The Kickstarters were full of that stuff.
Well, there are a lot.
Again,
there's a lot of alternate themes that are underutilized, but that's because
you have all that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the theme. The theme mechanism. Actually, it comes down to vocabulary. When you switch from one theme to another, it's literally just changing the words. Notice when you're on the vessel, I'm talking about forward, aft, port, and starboard. I'm not talking about left, right, up, down anymore. I'm actually using terms that match the theme of where we are, and therefore, when you switch to another complete theme, and you're talking about, say, superheroes or spies, and things like that. Now you're talking about counterintelligence or whatever.
Hold on one second. One thing I've always been curious about your system, and I know it's just I don't follow this stuff. Like for example, there's a bunch of these things. They're floating everywhere. Everybody's making these things. This is where the Kickstarter money goes. All these modules. This is still in shrink wrap. It'll probably never get open. This is what everybody's making money off. But if there would be a way to take, this is a D&D. Obviously, a lot of people are making them. They make it fit 5e. If you could somehow make an add-on, I don't know what you would call it, or you'd be able to be like, yeah, you can still play this. All these millions of things that are floating out there.
You can.
And I know you can.
No, I mean,
but for somebody dumb like me,
you can. No, you. I'm pointing at you. You can use NycosRPG for those.
That's what I'm slowly trying to tell because I've been collecting these things over the years because it's nostalgia for me. I don't want to open it, but like I told my daughter, she's still in.
Mechanically, the easiest way is any place that there is a number, generally double it and attribute it to whichever was the appropriate feat of the.
I don't know what you mean.
Question asking, yes. Have we played Dungeons and Dragons? Yes, I have been a game master. The question was, what's up? I'm curious, do we both play D&D? I have been a game master for Dungeons and Dragons for 50 years. I learned to play from my buddy's grandpa Dave, who is Dave Arneson. So I've been GMing nonstop for 50 years with one session a week for the entirety of my human life. So the next question is, they want if we're interested in running in an evil D&D campaign. 3 things. Number 1, I am not a player. I became a forever game master. I did play off and on throughout my career, but generally for the last 15 years I haven't been a player. That's first. So I can't say that I would be interested in joining a D&D campaign for that. Now, the second is that you mentioned the word evil. And at no time do I feel that any RPG should foment or promote the side of evil. That should always be the nemesis of the players. That's the purpose for me, for role-playing games, is to tell the hero's story, advocating for right over wrong. And so, I think I look like the Dark Emperor. My players, what do you think, Victor? Do I look
Okay.
like the evil Emperor type?
No. Well, no.
If there were to be a Dark Emperor, and there sort of is forming in the Middle Kingdoms right now in Nycos, the Imperator is not necessarily a good guy, but that's the benefit of being the storyteller. Is I get to play all the bad guys I want in my role as storyteller. So, thank you for the invite to come and play in another campaign, but I will have to defer. The third point is that the purpose for this conversation that I'm having with Victor has to do with the fact that I would prefer to transplant all players of role-play games and put them in the fertile ground of NycosRPG, and therefore let the game masters have creativity that doesn't limit them the way that other games do. So, but thank you for the suggestion that I might look like a good Dark Emperor. There are times when I have certainly played such a role, but we thank you for the comment. That is a good question. Victor, have you ever been invited to play in an evil campaign that actually told you they were wanting to do bad things?
No, I'm not a big RPGer. I'm not gonna lie. I've been around it for a long time, but I never got into it until my daughter did.
So
I'm a weird.
Nycos did
I'm a
drag you
weird.
in. Okay, I did.
Yes, yes. I'm a weird beast because now my daughter wants me to play D&D with her, a bunch of one shots,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do it just to play because.
Yeah, playing with your daughters and all. I mean,
God,
getting game time with your kids is always a good thing. You can never fault that. But I can imagine even as you do so. You're like, can I just make a grace check? can I just make, you'll be trying to simplify from it within.
Yeah, just so you know, that's what we're gonna be doing tonight. Because she wants to play one of the one shots at the store with me, and I'm cool with it. But she has to teach me.
I would.
And we're gonna be down that rabbit hole.
What I would love is for you to find out which module she's going to play it in. Which module is called?
It's a homebrew. Okay. Somebody's doing at the store.
Okay.
She has a certain person she likes there.
My point would be, it would be amazing to do that exact story in the NycosRPG after she's done it in Dungeons and Dragons and see really which one she prefers. Because
funny you mentioned that, because that's something at my old age now I've been wanting to do, either on D&D or some of the old stuff that I grew up with. 1 second here. Like I don't know where the screen is. This thing is on a delay. Like classic tales like this.
Right, those keep on the Borderlands.
The classics.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
They're actually now reprinted in.
That's what this is.
Well, they're also reprinted in Dungeons and Dragons material directly, because Keep on the Borderlands is listed in, I think it's the Vault. Tales from the Vault has a bunch of the
just
old
classic
modules.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I would like to experience that one of these days.
Yeah, I've done Tomb of Horrors. That's a fun one.
Oh, I'm sure you've done them all.
Well,
and I don't care what system it would run in. That's what I was curious earlier on when I asked. It's like, I just want to run that, but how you would take the system, and obviously you've already come up with a quick version where it's like, I just want to run the adventure, but I don't want to sit there and find pages here where all of a sudden it's like you got all these stats for a monster, and it's like we're gonna throw all that out. You don't need all that.
But you could just convert it immediately. All those numbers can immediately convert.
Yeah, if you can make up that, I think that would be beneficial.
I did. There's actually in the in fact, I believe it's in the book you've got has the conversion table in it, I believe, for D&D.
The black one.
Yeah.
The system. Oh yeah.
In the enhanced edition. Yeah, you can go look for. I think it's the D&D conversion. If it isn't, I can certainly put that together in a matter of minutes. Basically, there's a conversion process that converts the numbers of the attributes of Dungeons and Dragons into the base values for NycosRPG. and then you add to any skill that they take the level that the character they're playing is. So therefore, if they're playing a 5th level character, they get to add 5 to that attribute as if they'd already been advancing that persona by 5 points.
Yeah, just something where you're just running the story and
Yep.
then I just want to run the story. I'm a story guy. I don't
Yep.
need all the
Exactly.
maps, and I have a bunch of maps here she's been working on. I don't need all that.
Yeah,
But
there's something that's appealing about doing the map drawing, though. I've done a lot of maps myself, and it's fun to create them. So I don't falter at all for that. That's a part of the environment of being a game master is making your own maps. So another thing that I did want to touch on, and the fact that we've made it an hour and a half in and we haven't even talked about this part yet, is kind of exciting, and that is, where do you think the appeal comes from when we say that we hook people? What is it you think that is the bait on that hook? Because we got to have something to pull them on board the boat to get them to even give us a try. And I find it's challenging when I'm in the store and I hear people talking about role play games. I step out and I tell them, "Oh yeah, this is the one I created," and you're playing that. You can play this, and this supplants that. That feels like I'm trying to steal a sale, and I'm really not. I'm just trying to save them the burden. But what is the bait on the hook, you think, for Nycos?
To me, right away was the simpleness, the openness.
Even though that's also the scariest part, because the infinitely open window is like walking out onto a sunny day and knowing that you could get hit by a meteor.
To me, it wasn't. To me, I think it was the simpleness of just starting a character, and just you call it the Gumby system, but basically you just woke up in this place. What do you do?
So what should we name it? If we were going to give it an actual brand name, what should we call that?
I have no idea.
Because I'm uncomfortable with the Gumby only because Gumby works for people of our age. But
no, I get you. I understand what you mean. Maybe the quick down and dirty. Just quick character creation. We have a quick character creation system. Boom, here it is. You can even. I'd hate to say this. Not hate to say this. It might just be a better idea when you get new players. You already had a system, which I was unaware of yesterday, where you just have pre-generated numbers. I know a lot of DMs for Dungeons and Dragons, they run like pre-generated characters, and I think people use them where it's like, you're just jumping in, you're out of town, you're jumping in for 4 hours, here, play this. You can just say, here, you just carry 4 or 5 of these pre-generated numbers, here's your numbers. Plug in. I know it takes people a while to plug in arrays because they want to think about all that. It does take, it is a process, and then just your marks, and then let's just go.
Yeah. Well, so for clarification,
let's not waste time rolling.
You haven't got an opportunity to see it yet, but the master book actually slims down your choices and makes it so that it's Eldrin, not a specific sub; Grundam, no specific sub; Peck, no specific sub, and so on. And Menachin, no specific sub; Secgen, no Marowin, no specific sub, and Batrakin, no specific sub, and therefore they're restricted on their choices, which makes it faster because they've only got 6 to choose from instead of 35.
I see over here. Yeah, no, I think it's I mean, that's how we found them real quick. Maybe just give characters just the numbers, because I think what bogs it down at the beginning is the rolling a number.
Right. Well, they got.
But I understand.
They have to understand the ramp and all of that. And while there's some appeal to the way ramp works to make it almost like a mini game, to actually see if you can outdo yourself in terms of the ramp process, it's really not used for much else in the game other than character creation. So it's like, I learned a skill, but I can't use it anywhere else. So.
But I get it. I don't know if it bothers your players. It doesn't. I know it bothers sometimes my daughter when she was playing, when she was able to make it. Where it's like, we're selfish. I come in, I want to play the story right away, it does bog down the game, but at the same time, it's like this is part of the deal. You know, the store needs to bring people in. You have a product to sell, advertise, teach people. It's hard to sell people a session where it's like, yeah, just come in so you can learn the system. You know, they just jump in.
Right.
I know on certain, and I know it's hard after work and stuff. We have this with another thing on Fridays where it's like, I get it. It'd be nice to start at 6 p.m., but a lot of newer people don't roll in. You have a lot of people. It's like, yeah, 6 p.m. We're brand new. It's like, you know, it is what it is. We're not gonna start till 6 now. We're gonna start at 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let Jonathan, you know, get these people up to speed. I think it does throw people off. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what people think. And obviously, Frederick and some of these people didn't have a problem with it. Where all of a sudden it's like, or the 2 new people that were, I forgot what they, the people, anyways, the people sitting with next to Frederick, where they're at, where it's like all these people are just, you know, they're talking gibberish. I could see that. Where it's like, what are they talking about?
Right. Because every game mechanism has its own genre, its own.
Yeah, and I know it probably turns people off, and it's like, you know, I try the best I can. A lot of players do their best too, but it's like, you know, it's like we're all intrigued about, you know, why are you guys so intrigued to getting on this boat and going to this island? It's like, but you don't understand, man. We've been trying to, you know, Corvax and these people have been trying to find this place for the past 3 months, physically 3 months. Type of attitude. So, you know, I don't know if the enthusiasm feeds to these people. It's like, man, these people are either like weird or they're way into this stuff. And that's what I explain to people. I just watched a 4-hour movie. I came in here to experience the story, and I wanted to advance as fast as possible. And I joke all the time, and we were just joking about a week ago how we just had that player that just came in. He's been missing in action for a while, and it's just funny because it's like, yeah, we spent like literally like half a year in this town.
Yeah. So if it's easy play, and that's the hook, why is it? To me, it feels like it's more difficult to sell somebody on something easier than it is to sell them on something more complex. Because if you look at the feature benefits on the back of a new games product, it'll say new skills, new feats, new.
I get it. That's why D&D's 300
more
some
complexity,
pages.
More complexity, more challenge, more.
I get it. People buy that stuff. I know. I get it, and that's what sells. That's what we'll go down that road real quick. When you do the Kickstarter and all that, people want to be like, I done the system book, and I want all the other 7 books. You have to do all that. As a matter of fact, I just looking at one yesterday where it's like, you got the book and the PDF, and it's like, it gets like, and what do people buy the most? Everybody goes. You see the most pledges to the whole everything. We want all the fluff. You have all the fluff. But with that being said, it's a different story when a store or a business or you're bringing people in and say, hey, come play an RPG here from 6 to 10 or 6 to 9, whatever the hours are.
Right.
It's like, sit down, we're going to play. It's not like you just came here for 3 or 4 hours of your day, your night, and all you did was learn a system. To me, I'd be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm just going to go home and watch a movie. Or I'm going to go home and do something else. I didn't come out here to spend. It's like playing a big, heavy board game, and all of a sudden it's like, actually I'm doing one on Sunday, and it's like we're going to sit here, and it's like, it's going to take 2 hours to teach. You know how many people are going to leave the table?
Isn't that what really happens with the Crunchies anyway? Is the Crunchy game gets unboxed once because the people buy it and bring it home. They play it the one time, and then they've got 1,000 more lining up behind it.
Right there. And it's a joke, and it's an ongoing joke, but that is the truth.
Well, and what I'm getting at is that the mechanics for selling the next one is even more complex than Scythe, or adds more rules than.
I mean, you could. I mean, that's something that people do. It's like you just bloat the book with a bunch of different skills and stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's fine. You have the master. I think you're gonna be calling the master book, which I like the name too, system book, a master book, and then you're gonna have the other versions for the different genres, and they'll have the language. It's basically the same thing. And I think whoever buys your product, I almost guarantee it's gonna be the whole thing.
Oh yeah. Well, no,
Nobody's just gonna do this. It's like, I want the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And
why not?
More importantly to me is that I actually don't want somebody who buys all of them to not use at least one of them. You know, I'm hoping that the master book and at least one of the genre books does hit the regular use. That's really what I'm aiming at. I don't want it to just be.
And you already know which one it's going to be.
So I pitched this idea to Andrew, but I didn't get much of a word back from him on it. Andrew Nozinski, the guy who works with the store now, that used to be
the tall guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I pitched him the idea: what if we make it so that when they get the Nycos package, they also get so many hours of role play consultation with me? So they're not just getting the module, but they're getting the how to run it, how to build a story, how to whatever.
And I'm glad you talked to. I forgot about him. Yeah, he started with the store, and I know he has experience with the Kickstarter and all that, and with the game development. So he'd be a great source. I don't know how far he got into with his company with their Kickstarter and the game development.
I've known him. He used to work for one of the big companies like.
Yeah, they just pushed a big game out of Kickstarter. He just released.
Well, it's Slay the Spire, but I'm talking about before that. Before that, he was either with Decision Games or Decipher or one of the big publishers. Like
Decision Game does Decision Game does all the war games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up there.
Love those guys. Chris Cummings and his wife. They're good people. Good folk.
Yeah, that's another great resource. I didn't even think about him. I just come in as a player, as a player and a consumer.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you are an example of what I call Rich's crowd, the cult of the new. You've bought into the new product off of Kickstarter, and you know what appeals to you, and that's.
Yeah, no, I know what people buy. I'll tell you right now. I could look at it and say that's going to be a... As a matter of fact, I was trying to be in contact with this guy. He's got this cute little game, and I met him at a convention. And, I started explaining to these people, and they don't know where to get started, and neither do I. But it's like this product right here. It's a Target. This thing could be sold at Target, and you can make a ton of money. Good luck doing that. You're going to have to talk to these other companies to see if they can, then they'll buy it off you, and then they'll probably own the product. But this is a product that could be sold at Target. Mm-hmm. It's a cute little card game. I'm like, this is... Anyways. I
already know. In terms of connections, that's exactly the position I was in when I worked for Gamma. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, so you're there. This guy, sadly enough, he's Kickstarter. I don't even think it's going to fund. And I feel bad. It's like, I think it's going to afford, 20% short. And it's like, dang, man, if this other company... And I've even sent messages to this other company because I'm in contact with them through one of my Facebook groups. It's like, this guy's got the game you need. This is it. Mm-hmm. Either buy it off them or do something with them.
That was really kind of the point of my original book, Countermeasures, where it talked about how the consumer and the retailer interact with the manufacturers and create a community. And without that community creation, the best product in the world will never get sold, and the worst.
That's another small conversation I like to have, because I think bigger companies miss the mark. Smaller companies, I see it. I've been in this as a consumer for a while in this world, and I see it, and I could see how the smaller companies have taken advantage of it. And I could mention one name right back there, but I think at some point they get too big, and I think that's where this company's at. You can't see it, but I think now it's just like, it's like you guys are just pushing bloat out now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the last game I just kickstarted. I'm out. It's just bloat. It's just the same thing sold 10 different ways. You're missing the mark.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's drawing back the comparison between board games, which intentionally builds bloat into it because of the better, the The idea that the
Sorry.
weight.
Yeah, bloat is not the word for this company's problem. It's the gameplay is just it's like I got into it with some guy not too long ago because I run a Facebook group and I'm tired of people just pushing games out in my group and flooding it, and it's like, okay, you guys need to. It's a little different topic, but it's like I need you guys to actually go to a game store and play a modern board game. And it's like I'm tired of it. It's like I'm old, I'm tired, I don't sugarcoat things. Your stuff sucks.
Yeah, well,
You know,
this
nobody
is
plays Uno. You can only sell Uno 10 different ways. Rolling moves are done. It's like play a modern board game and then figure it out.
yeah. Well, I think that's one of the challenges with trying to get a property like NycosRPG out there because it is so open that when you try to pitch it, you're running into, well, we've already seen it. We've already seen a lot of other things. If you say it's like
They have it.
they say, well, they say, well, we've heard of GURPS, and GURPS didn't go anywhere. We've heard of basic role play, that didn't go anywhere. Fantasy Flight for Wildhead Melee, it didn't go anywhere. So the idea of creating a.
I get it. I get it. And like I told you, you sit at most of these game stores. Our local store is very small RPGs. There's a few. Anyways, I used to go one way out in Long Beach that had a lot of old RP, and it's like you sit there and it's like walls of RPGs, and they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it comes down to artwork and theme. Now it just comes down to IP. And like I've told you, it's like why would anybody pick up the G.I. Joe, the Pony, the Star Wars? I mean, there's like, oh my God, it's
well,
like
that
why
that
would
actually
anybody pick these things
talk
up?
about it in a completely different subject. The commoditization of terminology is going on all over the place. The idea that, see, when you get back, when you look at G.I. Joe or whatever, the franchisee.
Yeah, that's one of them.
The franchisee, you're wearing a G.I. Joe shirt, so the franchisee is hoping to get sales, but he does not care whether the game is ever played. Because
and it hurts the business.
Well, the people who buy franchise product are not buying it because they play games at all. They're buying it because, oh, I've got a friend who likes G.I. Joe, so if I get him this, I'm acknowledging that I know him and that he likes this kind of crap. So the My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, those things are manufactured to literally not be played. They're being sold
I get that.
To the gift
That's
buyer.
what I was. I get it. And my question to you is, because I wish I was in the industry, but I'm not. First of all, it goes to the same thing. Do a lot of these industry people play their stuff? Usually not. The other one, does all that stuff hurt the industry?
Yes.
When I sit there at the local game store and look at the thing, and he's got a very small, tiny area, and there's too many just in that alone.
Yeah.
Does it hurt other products? And it's
Yes.
like, I think it does. It's like
it does. Well, okay. So the acknowledgement.
But they sell, I guess.
The acknowledgement of the power of the dollar compared to the power of the IP is really what it comes down to. A store owner like Rich has to own and has to have for sale properties that the consumer will buy. So a certain portion of them has to be stuff that is going to sell whether it's ever used or not. Look at how many...
I guarantee I know they're not used. I'd like to know the numbers of the Cyberpunk that was the G. I would even pick just 4 projects. I'm actually gonna, if I have time, I'm gonna look to see if I could find sale numbers. Are these things even profitable to these companies? It's like, how many people are... I know you're flooding the G.I. Joe market. You got the hardcover. You got the artwork. You paid a ton of money for the IP. Was it even a return for you guys?
Sure.
No, all you're doing is hurting the business. You know,
Yes.
who's doing this?
Okay,
You
so
know, I know there's certain companies that buy junk.
It's a matter of defining what you're looking at. The number of people in America that play games in general is a dwindling number. We don't like to admit it, but the reality is that there are fewer and fewer people each generation that play games because there are so many new games out there that flood the viewpoints to where we know the 2 or 3. Like How many people, if you ask them what games they have in their closet, are going to tell you, I got Monopoly, I got Scrabble, I got Pictionary. That's it. That's really all they have in their games closet. But if you ask them, if you drill down and say, oh, do you like G.I. Joe? Have you gotten any G.I. Joe games? They might then go, oh, yeah, I did get the G.I. Joe board game, or I did get the G.I. Joe RPG. Because they're not seeing that as a games product because they didn't buy it for the game experience. So, yes, we are harming the games business by having the IP franchise stuff come in. However, that having been said, there are people who see the Star Wars Monopoly. Their friend buys them that. Then when they wander into a game store, they find the Star Wars miniature game, the Star Wars board game.
No,
And those may or may not be franchise. They may or may not have IP. I mean, look how many titles of Dune type products that are out there right now that are not under the Dune franchise. They're not under Frank Herbert's license at all. That's an example. There are ways that the IP can assist the marketplace if the people that are designing those games and creating them are doing so because of their passion for the game, not necessarily.
That's a different story. That's a different story because a lot of these Doom games are actually good. Where I'm at is, and we're in the same page. These companies just hurt the business. They don't care. They just paid a ton of money for the IP.
Right.
I just wish, it goes back to Square. It goes back to another conversation. It'd be nice if you had the money or somebody came knocking at your door saying, "Hey, I have this IP," as remote as it may be, because there's a ton of remote IPs now. Just play TCGs right now, trading card games, and say, "I'd like to put that skin. I want to put this not skin. I want to put my skin on your engine."
Well, that's
nice.
That would be that could. I can imagine Toy Story coming to NycosRPG and saying, "Can we do a Toy Story RPG?" That could happen realistically in the future. But the trick is I would much rather create a cartoon-based Dastardly Squirrels, and the Dastardly Squirrels lets you do Toy Story and never actually have to worry about the IP.
I get it. I'm just saying. I was just curious. And I know these things are like 1 in a million that happens.
So what that plays into is that most people don't know that the marketplace in America is not driven by people who buy what they want. That's actually a very small part of the purchasing properties.
Yeah. I'm a clear example.
Well, no, 70% of the consumers. 70% of consumers go out to buy things for other people. And generally those consumers are women. So moms and aunts and grandmas that go to the store and go, "Oh gosh, my nephew, he really likes G.I. Joe. There's a product I don't think he has. Let's get that."
This is true.
That's who. So when Ma and her 3 kids come into the store in Redlands, those are the properties. I see it all the time. Those are the properties that knee-jerk get purchased because that's safe. I know what Monopoly is. So if he makes me play it, I can play it. But I know what that is. So the Star Wars Monopoly, that's a no-brainer. Going around the corner and picking up Shatterpoint, that means I have to know something about the universe and what a Shatterpoint is and what the.
No, I get it. I help how many of these people. And usually smaller kids because, I have a history with all that, and so does the store owner. What I was trying to get at roughly is, I know these games bloat the industry, the junk RPGs. I'm hoping eventually they get flushed out. Sadly enough, they might just...
They'll linger because the store owner bought 15 of them because he got a deal.
I know what I'm saying. I understand that. That's a different subject. They're stuck with product. They can't move. What I'm saying is, eventually, these companies that just paid a ton of money for the IP and all the printing, they just like, okay, this wasn't worth it. We're no longer doing that.
Right.
Do you think it's just like now you see less stuff in the shelves? People just move on. This goes back to something you mentioned earlier.
It'll be a churn. It'll be because each of those releases will make a chunk of money for that manufacturer, who therefore promotes that brand, which is what they were really going for. They're going for brand recognition. They're not necessarily going for property identity in the marketplace. So
No, I get it. I see it all the time.
The very company that did Power Rangers turns around and does My Little Pony. Turns around and does.
That's a clear example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just did a big Kickstarter, Power Rangers miniatures. People bought it, and they just, yeah. I didn't fall for that one, but it's like I get it. I end up trying to get rid of it for $10. I just paid $100 for it. I try to get rid of it for $10 because the game's no good and it's just dumb.
Right.
I get it.
Right. So that's never going to change. It's just going to rotate new names. The reason why I say that it's bad for the industry is that if you have somebody who is an aficionado of My Little Pony and they really think they could make a good role-playing game for it, the fact that they get beat to the punch by the big boy who is more agile and puts out a crappy game now undermines the ability of that kid to create his vision and publish it because, well, he's always going to be compared against that big dollar game that he can't.
With that being said, you bring a point right here. I know you're tied to the industry, especially through Gamma, so you know a ton of these publishers. I only know very few of them. But there are certain publishers, River Horse Games, I don't know if you ever heard of them. Mm. They tend to push a lot of junk games, but they have the IPs. They do Terminator. They just did a Labyrinth, Terminator.
Sure.
I don't know if you would. I don't know your extent, but it'd be beautiful to have these contacts where it's like, I know you guys push IP. There's a few companies like that. That's all they push, IPs, and they're junk games. And I buy them. I stopped buying them finally. But it's like, hey, if you guys are ever looking at putting this into an RPG, I'm your guy. Actually, they do some RPGs too, which are junk. Just, purchase the license here. You'll tweak all the words for them.
Okay, so mechanically, the way that works isn't the way you think. The IP owner comes looking for somebody to make what they need. It isn't the other way around. So if for example, I have a friend who works with World of Game Design, and that company went out actively after the Highlander license. So they went and got Highlander. Now this is decades after the Highlander TV show is off the air. There's no reason to support it. But he happens to know he happens to know the guy who holds the IP. So he goes to that guy and says, we'd like to do a role-playing game in the Highlander universe. He then goes with that concept, that guy's approval in hand, goes to Kickstarter. Kickstarter, their brains are running on traditional mechanisms, and they're going, Kickstarter, Highlander, that's a big name. We're going to get a huge number of followers for your property through Kickstarter. So let's help you build it. So the Kickstarter is then built in, and you talk about bloat. The Kickstarter is built with the economics of the production, the publication, marketing, and sales built in. So that the Kickstarter, with everybody funding into that Kickstarter, they get front, middle, and back money all at once. They get the big pile of cash all at once. But the rules of Kickstarter do not mandate that money gets used as intended. Once they release the funds to you, you can virtually do what you want.
I get it.
And so
Kickstarter.
So they pay their license fee to get the IP. They pay their marketing budget. But then instead of using that sales budget to actually buy distribution, they use it to advertise direct to the consumer. So now the consumers that are buying are the only audience that Highlander product will ever have, because everybody that likes Highlander will have heard about it and be buying it. So that there is no room anymore for a consumer who likes Highlander to find it at his local game store. And that happens all the time, which means the distribution networks, the big boys, Alliance, ACD, they can't stand the Kickstarter folk. Because the Kickstarters are not giving them the opportunity to have a market. They're literally
No, I get
robbing.
it.
They're cannibalizing the markets across the board.
I know. I used to be in a type of business a long time ago. That's yeah, where you went straight to consumers, and now you've altered the delivery model,
Distribution. Yeah, you've killed the distribution
model.
network. Right?
I get it. I'm the other way. I was the guy trying to take away the middle source, the wholesaler.
Mm-hmm.
You can just go straight to the source and then just bypass the wholesaler, go straight to consumers. Just kind of where the industry.
Right, and the irony is those two are at odds with each other, and in reality, distribution's purpose really needs to be collective awareness of that middle ground, and they don't do that very well.
I get it.
They don't do that part very
well.
It.
No, I get it. You know, it's I get it. No, it's just that's why the store's there, and that's why there's certain products that he wants to push, and there's certain products you want to highlight and teach. This is why you're sitting there countless days a week.
Well, I think John at the store is a perfect example. Corvax, to use character name.
Yep.
Corvax is an example of what I think can happen everywhere, is that we get advocates in the physical locations, and then they drive new games of that type. I don't know. I don't know that John would recommend anybody else to game master Nycos but me, but that's just because I've got such a anchored grip on it. But if I knew, for example, if for example I were to talk with Natalia and get her convinced to run whatever game, I don't care if she can run a D&D game, but let's run it in the Nycos mechanism. I think it'd be easy enough to say she's a Nycos game master, and therefore ease of play makes
She won't do this. She likes the D&D. She's I get it. But people change, and I already know it's going to happen.
Yeah, and it will happen down the road when she finally has it.
But again, and going back to the store, I think their high reads have been 95% hits. He's managed to get very good at finding the right people that are gamers and find the niche. Just like, I got my RPG guy, I got my TCG guy, I got my my
web
board
control.
Gamer.
Right.
Yes, he's been very lucky with that. I would say a good 95%. Of course, the turnover rate is hard. I get it. Live in California, but yeah, as far as running your game system, that's what we're at. That's the core of the conversation here: is buy the system and run the game. The game is all in your mind. There's no pre-written adventures. And that's what I was like, unless you're willing to buy these things, a lot of people that just don't have the originality, just open one of these things up and here's a cool conversion kit. And you can just run this. I think it'd be cool to run some other classics. That may not always be D&D. There could be some other RPGs that had classics adventures from God knows where. And run those in this system. It's just a story. You're just different mechanisms. It's just a story. You're still meeting the same characters. You're still meeting, this dragon, this wizard. You're still meeting these characters.
That would be an interesting niche product. Would be to have somebody go through classics of literature and come up with the.
Well, that's what you do.
But yeah, what I'm saying is that actually have it so that they want to run the storyline for Moby Dick, and so therefore somebody has gone through and actually created the persona sheet for Ahab, Ishmael, whatever the different characters are. Yeah. So therefore they've got that information at their fingertips. That'd be kind of an interesting way to do it.
It's fully doable here. At an hour and some 4 minutes in, that's basically the blurb. All that is doable here.
Yep.
All that's doable here. Like, I'm just gonna mention real quick, my daughter, it's actually the game Goonies, the movie Goonies.
Uh-huh.
They came out with, I don't know where it is. I think it's out here. They came out with a board game.
Yep.
And it's basically a super, super, super lightweight RPG. She's been wanting to expand on that. That's what got us hooked about 2 years ago, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That and this other junky D&D book game over here somewhere.
Check into Meddling Kids. Or kids
That's
on
what
bikes.
happened.
Kids on bikes.
We bought that. I bought that. It just looked too much for me. This was when she was still little. I was like, all these pages. I'm like, that ain't working. But that is the concept. Your system is simpler than that.
Yeah.
But that's what she's been wanting to do. That's why I got all this. I
You
can't show it, but I
definitely-
have all these toys and
Yep.
maps that she's been trying to homebrew
Yep.
that mess, and that's what I keep telling her. And it's like, you can just do it with this system, but she wants to do it that way, and that's what led to this conversation or her being a DM. And because I've been like, well, you can just start writing. You're gonna be writing your own stories day one.
Yep.
And that's when it led to these conversations where it's like, you could just run that. You don't have to be like, you still got your main character, you still got your characters, your personas, you still got your Ahab, you still got your main characters from the movie. You can either play those characters or interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to play as the characters. I'm like, well, okay, well, there you go.
That's why she's in that crux of being a player and a storyteller. She will have to get to the point where when she finally gets across that line and says, okay, I am the storyteller, then she'll get that she gets to play all the leads, all the backstory pieces, all of the elements, and the players get to be the ones that drive the story forward. But
yeah,
this is good. I know we're up against the clock for you because you need to get out of here by noonish. So
I understand. Yeah, I mean, just real quick, just to wrap it up. Sure. That's where I was with the store. I was curious if there were other people, because I'm not in control. I don't even know all these DMs. I don't know this world. If there were other people that might be interesting, even remotely, in running games. To me, that's like, you want to keep those people around, because most people don't want to do that, and slowly give them either not guidance, but like more of a push. And I think you would be the guy. And we had discussions where it's like, maybe other people. And I saw your point.
What you don't know that just happened this week is that I created a fast play set of Nycos rules, and it's only like 10 pages. And I got the store to approve me providing the store with copies of that to be given to anybody who buys an RPG product. So if they're buying the D&D new edition, they get Nycos. Yeah. If they buy Cthulhu,
I'd like to get a copy of those.
Nycos.
I want to get I'd like to get a copy of those.
Yeah, they're at the store, so just ask, and I can print them out. I'll have extra copies with me.
But that was basically the whole idea, was maybe do advertise. Hey, you know what? This is a DM session. These are people that are beginners. Be nice, be gentle. They're gonna run whatever system. That's I get it. They all want to run a specific system, and just build build something for them where it's like, help them out, because in the end they're gonna help you guys out. And it's like, next thing you know, you got another DM because they got comfortable. And I thought, maybe what better audience than other DMs?
Right.
But you brought up a point, because you might not want to have
the other. Well, that's to me.
Might not be a good idea. I was like, I get it.
The real key to the modern dungeon master crowd is that if I present anything, they know my background enough to say, he's just going to sell us Nycos. They freeze their brains around, I must protect what I believe because that's what I must have. And it's like, no. Listen to what I say, let it flow over you, and then use what you want. I don't care. Stay in Dungeons and Dragons land. But
you brought up a great point. I get it. You're absolutely correct. But then I started thinking, let's just do the opposite. Maybe you might get people like myself, like Gene, or some of these people that are into that, and they just go all in, and it's like, they'll be a good audience. They're not gonna be. They're gonna be critical. My daughter's I've raised her to a point. I've raised her to the extent where it's like she'll accept criticism. Mm-hmm. It's like, come on, criticism. I mean, if somebody's just always like laughing and always saying yeah, that does me no good.
Right.
I don't need that.
Right.
I need somebody that's gonna, because I work with people like this. I work with people that are always got some criticisms to make every day after our job, and a lot of younger kids, they get all mad. All this, I'm like, you know what? I get it. I'm like,
yeah. Well, I will definitely talk to Jazz about that, because he's Jazz is now taking care of the scheduling for the events there, and I know that he had openings at Saturdays from 2 to 6, so I put myself in there for roulette. But I could just as easily make that the Game Master training spot. I have no problem with that. So
yeah, you just got to throw the feeling. It's not going to happen right away. It's just who might be interested, what times might work, because at 2 to 6 we might not even be able to make it. It's like, you know what, it's a long day, I want to go home.
Right.
But it's like in a few months, it's like just give us some time, just
Sure.
try to build enough audience. It's like this thing with the Halloween thing. It's like, I need you guys to start. I'm gonna have to talk to him when I see him Friday. I like to see this happen, but I need you guys to have a graphic and really push it. Put your little. I understand you guys don't have that much social media presence, but give it a month. I don't want to show up and all of a sudden it's like 2 people.
Right.
That just sucks.
Yeah, that last time around.
It's going to happen today with the thing. They're supposed
it wasn't
to
that we didn't have. It wasn't that we didn't have a good time, but it would have been a lot more fun with 20 people in line instead of 4. So.
And not that day, and ended up being the regulars. But it's like, I would like to see somebody that's not a regular, and it's like, yeah, dude, sit down, relax. We're not playing D&D. We're playing an RPG. Call it a role playing game.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
you don't have a miniature? Here, I got all the toys. I want something to be visually appealing.
Well, I want to thank you again, Vyktor, for being on the show today. We are running out. We're running up against your time limits and mine as well. So we will be back on the air at 11 p.m. tonight. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to cover yet, but I'll be putting a post about that up pretty soon. And, of course, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. See you all. Have a great time. Thanks again, Vyktor, for being with us.
See you Monday.
Yep.